We're going to continue with the 9th chapter of Many Waters. Sandy and Tigla walked off the oasis to watch moonrise, and Tigla kind of made advances on Sandy. Although Sandy liked it, he realized that the rules of the place that he was in made sure that if he was with Tigla in the way that she wanted, he would not be able to have access to the unicorn anymore. We saw what happened when Tigla called the unicorn. It ran away from her. So, but he's thinking to himself, I might give up unicorns for Yalith. So that's where we are, and we will pick up at the page break. No, Tigla said, I didn't find out anything. I asked him all the questions you told me to, but he didn't tell me anything. Rofocale towered over her, his wings flaming like the sun, even in the moonlight. He must have said something. He said he came from far away and that it was a mistake to come. Mistake? Rofocale queried. The garnet pool of his eyes looked opaque. Could El have made another mistake? You think your El sent them? Who else? They are certainly not native. They may be as much as of a threat to us as the seraphim. At least the seraphim are careful not to manipulate or change things. You think the young giants will? Who knows? And you couldn't get anything out of him? The dimple in Tigla's cheek deepened. At least he came with me this time. So he did, and did you kiss him? She nodded. He tasted so young as the morning. Did he like it? He liked it, but just as I thought he was ready to go further, he pulled back. But give me time, Rofocale. This is, after all, the first time he's been willing to go with me. Rofocale, in a movement of swift grace, knelt so that their eyes were level. You must work fast, my little Tigla. Why? What's the hurry? Rofocale rubbed the back of his hand against his forehead. Some of our powers have been weakened. We can no longer tell, but Noah knows something. His sons married abnormally young and hurriedly. Noah still speaks with the one on whom I have turned my back. There may not be another 100 years. But why do you want me to seduce him? Wouldn't that put him in your and my power? He drew her to him. What you do with the naked giant will not make you any less mine, my little lovely one. I like my women to be experienced in the ways of lust. Will I make a baby for you? He spread his wings so that she was wrapped in a cloud of flame. Soon. Soon, Oholibama said. Soon. Press down, Mahlah. Press down hard. Soon, Yalith echoed reassuringly. It will come soon. Matred said nothing. Mahlah, lying on her back on a pile of skins, screamed. Her hands groped frantically, and Matred took them in a firm grasp, while Mahlah clutched. It's gone so long, Yalith whispered. How much more can she take? Get up, Matred ordered Mahlah. Mahlah wailed. I can't! Oh, let it come soon! Get up, Matred repeated. Squat. I did until I was tired. I couldn't. You've rested enough, Matred's voice was rough. Help her up, she ordered Yalith and Oholibama. The two girls had to use all their strength to pull the resisting Mahlah off their skins. Squat, Matred said. Bear down. Now, push. The moon is setting, Yalith said. Oholibama looked at Matred. My mother went through this. She is still alive. Yes, my dear, Matred said. Thank you. It was Oholibama's first open acknowledgement that she had been sired by one of the Nephilim, and Matred pressed her shoulder in gratitude. The moon set. The sun rose. It was stifling in the small white clay house. The four women streamed sweat. Mahlah's hair was as wet as though it had been dipped in the water jar. Her eyes were wide open in agony. She moaned, screamed, shrieked. Occasionally, between contractions, her mouth would fall open laxly, and her eyes would droop shut as she dropped into an exhausted sleep, only to be wakened As she was assailed by fresh pain, the sun slid low in the sky. "Squat," Matred ordered. "You must squat again." 3 nights and 3 days, squatting, lying, screaming. She will die, Yalith thought. This cannot go on. Soon, Oholibama continued to reassure the tortured Mahlah. It will come soon. Press down harder. Matred's voice was sharp with anxiety. Work, Mahlah, work. We cannot have this baby for you. Work. Push. For the 4th night, the moon rose. Push, Matred commanded. A long, grunting groan came from Mahlah, more terrible than her screams. Now! Now! The groan seemed as though it would tear Mahlah apart. Now! And at last, Matred reached between Mahlah's legs to help draw the baby out of her body. The baby's head was so large that Yalith could hear Mahlah's flesh rip as the child came out. Matred shook it, patted its buttocks, and the air rushed into its lungs, and it howled. While Sandy was with Tigla, Denny's went into Grandfather Lamech. Uneasy about him, he walked to where the old man was lying. Son, it's Denny's grandfather. An old hand groped for his. Denny's held it, and it was cold, deathly cold. Can I do something for you, grandfather? A serene smile wreathed the old man's face. El has spoken. Denny's waited. The old man seemed to be trying to suck in enough air to speak. Finally he said, All will not be lost. Oh, my son, Den, El has repented. Well, you were in the garden. El spoke to me here in the tent. I have never heard him here before. Oh, my son. Den, my son, Noah will be spared. Noah and his family. El has spoken. From what, Grandfather Lamech? From what will they be spared? The old fingers trembled in Denny's hand. El spoke of many waters. This I do not understand, but no matter, what is of concern is that my son will be spared. The fingers pressed against Denny's. But you, my son, what will happen to you, I do not know. I don't know either, Grandfather. Denny's massaged the withered old hand until a little warmth returned. Uguil stood looking down at the baby lying between Mahlah's breasts. The young mother looked pale and exhausted, but radiant. The 3 women who had shared her labor were nearly as exhausted as Mahlah. Oholibama had deep circles under her eyes, and her cheeks were ashen. It was she who had somehow or other staunched the blood that poured out, nearly taking Mahlah's life with it. She who had brought the afterbirth out safely. Her hands and arms were stained red from holding Mahlah's torn flesh together until the rush of blood slowed to a trickle and the danger of hemorrhaging was over. Uguil paid no attention to the others. He gazed at his baby. It had a full head of hair, black like Mahlah's. He flipped it over and fingered the soft down outlining the shoulder blades. I am pleased, he said. Matred was sharp. And well you might be, it almost killed her. Without Oholibama it would have. She turned away from Uguil and fed Mahlah some of the strengthening broth Elishaba had sent over. Go home, she said to Yalith and Oholibama. Go and get something to eat and rest. I will stay with Mahlah. Elishaba will be by later. Oholibama was ignoring Uguil. Also ignoring Uguil. Looked at mother and child. She will need much care for the next several days. Be sure to call me if the bleeding starts again. I will, Matred promised. Uguil bent over Mahlah, and with one long finger touched the baby on its eyelids, its nose. I am pleased, Uguil said again. Oholibama sat in the big tent, letting Elishaba feed them lentil soup. Oholibama said he didn't care whether she lived or not as long as she had the baby. Yalith paused in the act of raising her bowl to her lips. Do you really think that? You heard him, didn't you? Why doesn't she get on with it, he said. Why is it taking so long? And then he would go away and not come back for hours and hours. Mother and she didn't want him around. Then Yalith stopped. Matred had been with her older daughters when they gave birth, shooing their husbands away, but giving a running account of the delivery. Nor had the husbands gone far away. They had in fact been maddeningly underfoot. They had not simply vanished like Uguil, leaving everything to the women. She finished her soup in silence. Oholibama, too, drank. Her dark brows drew together. Her raven black hair had come loose from its thong and fallen about her shoulders. Oholibama, Yalith said softly, what is it? The Nephilim marry our women. Give them babies, but the seraphim, they do not marry or give babies. But in many ways they are like the Nephilim. Oholibama pushed her dark hair back in a weary gesture. No, I think that once the Nephilim were like the seraphim. What happened to change them? I don't know. Yalith thought of Ariel with the bright amber eyes and leonine grace, and then of Eblis, and she was glad she had run from the purple-winged Nephil. She wanted nothing to do with Eblis if he was like Uguil, who did not care whether his wife had lived or died. Could Uguil once have been like Ariel? Could Eblis? Oholibama said, I think the seraphim are free to leave us for the stars at any time if they want to. I don't think the Nephilim can, not anymore. They stay with us, not because they have chosen to, but because they have to. Noah and Japheth came into the tent, their arms and hands as stained with grape juice, so Oholibama's had been with blood. Japheth embraced his wife. Yalith ran to her father. Mahlah has had her baby. It is all right. Noah put his arms around his youngest child, but he seemed strangely disinterested. Did you hear, father? Yalith demanded. Mahlah's long travel is over at last. Mahlah's long travail is over at last. That is good to hear, Noah said heavily. We were worried. What is it? Oholibama said. Is something wrong? Japheth's arm tightened about his wife. Noah drew Yalith close. El has spoken strange words. Good words? Yalith asked. Oholibama looked at Japheth questioningly, but he shook his head. Strange words, Noah repeated. I do not know what to make of them. Be happy for Mahlah, father, Yalith said. It was such a hard birth, so long. If it had not been for Mahlah will be all right, Oholibama said. She is young and strong and will heal quickly. It is a big baby, father, Yalith continued. It is the biggest baby I have ever seen, with dark hair like Mahlah's and a button of a nose. At least it is a baby, Noah's voice was bitter. You are upset, Oholibama said. Yes, I suppose I am upset. El has asked me to do strange things I do not understand. Great changes are coming, terrible changes. Japheth, Oholibama whispered. Hush. Later. Within the comfort of her father's arms, Yalith shivered. But now we can rejoice, father, because Mahlah has had a safe delivery. Noah continued to hold his daughter, pressing his lips against her bright hair. We did not have a wedding feast for Mahlah. That hurt Matred. I had hoped we could have a wedding feast for you. Oh, but you will, Yalith exclaimed. She thought of Mahlah's strange wedding, and she did not want one like that, isolated from her family and friends. Then she thought of the twins in their own way. They were as alien as the Nephilim and the Seraphim, and yet they were human, totally human, and she loved them. She pressed her cheek against her father's chest so that she did not see the expression on his face. Oholibama did, but before she could speak, Japheth had pulled her to him again in a loving embrace. And we will pause there.